I'm sure everyone's well aware of the current climate change and energy crisis that we're facing. I'm here in County Durham today talking to Neil Spann, the CEO of PowerRoll. We're at the production facility for PowerRoll's flexible solar film product. And Neil, I wonder if you could just tell us a bit about your product and how the business started.
Yes, certainly. So we are developing a completely new and revolutionary way to generate clean energy. Obviously, as you mentioned, energy prices are at a record high, and that means that businesses and consumers are looking to find cheaper and cleaner sources of energy, and we've invented a new technology that we're scaling, and hopefully we can be part of the answer to that energy challenge at the moment.
So Neil, you've fairly recently opened this pilot production facility for your solar film. Can you just tell us a bit about how the production facility came into being and what you're hoping to achieve over the coming year?
Yes, so we've been developing this new type of solar film, and previously we've proven the science behind it, and this is a groundbreaking technology that nobody else in the world is working on. But obviously the next natural step is to prove that we can manufacture it. So we've constructed a pilot facility here in County Durham, and we're aiming to show that we can manufacture the product at roll-to-roll capabilities, which will allow us to move on to the next step of our journey, which is to commercialise through a UK plant, as well as then licensing our technology internationally.
Great, okay. And so can you just talk to us about some of the uses and advantages of the solar film over existing solar panels?
Yes, for sure. I mean, if I show you a small example here, so this is a small sample of our solar film. So as you can see, it's very flexible, lightweight, and its main attribute is it's very low cost to produce because we use processes used in the production of banknotes. So the primary use cases for this are on surfaces. So if you look at the UK alone, there's something like 2.5 billion square metres of commercial roof space, and only about 2% of that currently has solar panels attached to them. So our primary initial market is to go onto those commercial rooftops, like a factory like this, warehouses, agricultural buildings, where we can generate energy from the surface rather than using land as you would for a solar farm. The secondary use case we're looking at is off-grid. So we take this outside of the UK and we go to the likes of India and Southeast Asia and Africa, we can bring power to those villages and communities that don't have access to electricity, because in the world there's still something like 800 million people who don't have access to electricity. So those are our two primary markets that we're targeting, but actually because of its unique form factor, lightweight and easy to deploy, there are many other surfaces that we can address.
Yeah. Well, that sounds incredibly exciting and could make a huge difference in terms of bringing renewables and, in fact, as you say, bringing electricity to people who don't currently have that as a possibility. So in terms of the business and its development, what challenges have you faced in getting to the point that you're at now, and what do you see as challenges coming up over the next
no, it's a
year
great
or
question.
so?
I mean, like any startup and a new business, there's a lot of different challenges. If I was to summarise the top three challenges we've had so far, I think first of all, access to finance, is a challenge for every business, especially bringing a new technology to market, because that carries some risk to it. So finding the right investors. So we've been reasonably successful to date, raising around about 25 million of investment into PowerRoll, but that's never an easy job. The second is building the team. So because what we're doing is different to everybody else in the world, we've got to find the right people with the right skills. So it's taken us some time to get our team together, but we've got a great team now and continues to grow. And then the third is actually the market acceptance of a new technology, because everybody thinks solar panels are what you see on most rooftops, 2 meters squared, big pieces of glass, and therefore with a particular set of performance criteria. So actually one of the challenges is actually explaining to people that there is a different way than there is for the traditional panels that you would see out there. So, but like any challenge, one of the other challenges I would note is that as a small company, sometimes you're not at the top list of some of your supply chain partners.
Yeah.
And therefore, that can mean that things take longer than you would having worked in larger companies like I have in the past. People are more willing to pick up the phone if you're working for a FTSE 100 company than you are for a startup in County Durham. Yeah. But you build your relationships and overcome those challenges.
Yeah, and you've been finding some difficulty in terms of supply chain and being able to move forward with the pilot plant.
Yes, we have. I mean, we're not alone in this. So our partners who build our equipment, have seen delays in their supply chain. Whether that be coming from China, shutdown in China, obviously the obviously difficult things that happen in Ukraine or COVID. So there's a number of factors that have all come together, which means some of those supply chains, where typically a component might have taken 6 weeks to come through, it can be taken as long as 6 months. Yeah. So that does make planning quite difficult for us as a business. But we're glad to say the pilot plant's up and running, and we're starting to produce our film. And we're very excited about the next steps of the journey. In
terms of PowerRoll's next steps, where do you see the business going? We've talked already about it being a fairly short run, hopefully into proof of manufacturing and being able to go ahead with the UK plant. So can you just talk to us about those sort of longer term plans as well for the business?
Yeah, for sure. As you say, we've got about a year's worth of work to complete on the pilot plant in terms of showing that we can produce the product to a minimum level of viable performance, and we're confident that we will. And then our commercialization strategy is in 2 tranches. So if we look at the UK, we want to create the UK's first large-scale gigafactory for making solar panels. At the moment, most things are manufactured in China in the Far East, and we want to bring that manufacturing here. And then internationally, we see our model as different to what it is today. So at the moment, you've got a very centralized manufacturing base for solar panels, and then they're shipped around the world. We actually, because our technology can be manufactured very, very low cost, using quite a low level of capital, it means that we can site plants close to the end markets. So we see multiple factories around the world manufacturing our solar film for their local markets.
Great.
So we've got early stage relationships in India to set up a plant in India, also in Japan, some parts of Europe, and we're getting inquiries from South America, US, and all over the place. So we see around about the potential for 30 gigawatts of manufacturing capacity around the world, which has the potential to change lives and produce a lot of clean energy. So there's very much away from this centralized model in China. Yeah. We think not just ourselves, but other companies are going to be moving there because you can make close to your customer, eliminating the cost of transport, but also some of the challenges of transport from that perspective.
It's much more sustainable as well,
absolutely,
in terms of reducing transport costs and issues.
It is, and because our product is so lightweight, actually, you're almost transporting air. So if you make it, what's really the point of shipping it over from China? So we just have this vision of PowerRoll on every surface around the world. Buildings, on the sides of roads, and that product to be made locally creates green jobs locally. So it's not just jobs in the UK or wherever, it's jobs locally. But then you've got the people who would install and maintain the product. So we want to create those green jobs around the world. Rather than just in specific locations, whether that be in Europe or somewhere else.
So you're really looking at contributing to local economies on a number of levels, aren't
you? Absolutely. At the lowest level, in terms of at the consumer level, actually providing that clean energy. Yeah. Because if you take somewhere like India, there's something like 600,000 villages, and not all of those are connected to the grid. Yeah. So you can provide power into those villages for education, for business, for changing people's lives. Then you've got the people who install the panels and transport them, and then you've got the partner that might be manufacturing them under license from PowerRoll. So very much about creating a value chain in each regional area that we want to bring our panel to. And really, there's not a country in the world that we don't think our solar film will have some applications for. So it's almost endless from that perspective.